Hello, I'm Matt Galloway, and this is the Current Podcast. Something weird is happening with jeans. First, there was the brand Free People's micro denim shorts, basically jean underwear. The TikToker Nicole Story Dent tried them on.
You could deliver a baby without having to take these shorts off. These are not jorts, in my opinion. I would say these are more like jundies or janties or a bikini at best. I'm doing Kegels. You can totally tell, right? And the name of this color on their website is tofu, and I would like to petition for them to change that to camel tofu.
The comment section on Free People's Instagram posts selling the shorts did not disappoint. It looks like Depends and Levi's did a collab. Brazilian wax sold separately. Nice moment of internet unity. And then things got weirder. Another denim item recently surfaced and said, "Hold my beer."
A high-end fashion brand is selling a pair of jeans for $800, which appear to have a pee stain on the front. Jeans with a pee stain on the front? Please, I can make those in my sleep.
Jordan Luca, a British-Italian menswear brand, is selling, yes, jeans with a dark, wet-looking stain on the groin for $1,000 Canadian. And they're sold out. What exactly does this peculiar moment in denim tell us about the larger moment that we might be in? Odessa Paloma Parker is a Toronto-based writer and stylist, also contributing arts editor at the Globe Style Advisor. Odessa, hello.
Good morning, Matt. Let's
start with the jundies. As I say, something that I never really expected to say on the radio before, that word jundies, like jean undies. Can you just, the name sort of says everything, but can you paint us a picture of what they look like?
Sure. So they are extremely small, tight-fitting, sometimes distressed, like kind of giving that sort of cut-off jean short look. But really, they're jean shorts that just look more like underwear.
You might think that that was the far edge of denim design in 2024. Free People is also selling something that the internet has called labia shorts.
Yeah.
What are those?
So again, we're looking at silhouettes that are really extreme. And I mean, if you look at a person like Doja Cat or Julia Fox, we're seeing a lot of celebrities and so-called style icons really championing pieces that look more like lingerie than apparel that you would necessarily want to leave your house wearing. Some of us, most of us, I would think. But yeah, these are just really hyper body-bearing unmentionables, in terms of the design.
It's a polite way of putting it, I suppose. There's also, we heard about this, the $1,000 sold out crotch stained jeans. What would the appeal of that be, do you think?
I think that distressed denim is always going to come back into style because denim in and of itself is such a ubiquitous material and there's so much you can do with it. But I think one aspect of it that's really appealing to people is this sort of like personalization or customization aspect to it. So I think people who are really looking to stand out would gravitate towards a pair of pants that look like they had a pee stain on them just to really make a statement.
Who's paying $1,000 for jeans that look like you wet yourself?
I would say content creators, people who really want to go viral wearing these things.
Is that what this is about? People wearing them to create a moment?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Fashion design in the last 10 years, I would say. I noticed this on the runways, attending runway shows myself, this real shift from, thoughtful design into what can I create that people will immediately want to take a picture of and share and say something about. It's not really so much about thoughtfulness and design anymore. It's about making a statement and continuing that virality too, right? And this notion of like no press is bad press necessarily. So to what you were saying earlier about the comments section, people can hate on these fashions all they want, but they're still going to sell.
Clearly, the $1,000 jeans are sold out. Well, and I want to come back to the role of social media in this. We're also seeing barrel jeans. For people who don't know what those are, just describe what barrel jeans are.
So there are jeans that kind of have a bit of a protuberance around the thigh section. They, can definitely vacillate between something a little more subtle into something much more extreme that almost look like kind of saddlebags hanging down at your side, but it's just part of the silhouette of the denim itself.
And you've hinted at this, but where are these trends coming from?
Well, I've noticed a lot of surrealism creeping into fashion design in the last few years. And I certainly think that speaks to the moment we're in culturally more largely. But, if you look at when Dadaism and those kinds of movements started in the art world, it was at a time of confusion and unrest. So I think, again, we're seeing styles sort of shift into this moment of maybe it's a bit nihilistic, like people are just like, I don't know what's going on in the world, so I'm just going to express myself how I want. But I think more largely, it has to do with social media sort of dictating and saying, hey, if you want to put yourself out there, people are maybe going to not like what you're wearing, but I think it's people really wanting to kind of go for it a little bit.
What do you make of that? I mean, of a venue where people can make a statement, but also the times that we're in, people feeling not encouraged, but feeling that might be an antidote to the anxiety that people are living through or the stress that people are living through.
Mm-hmm. I mean, certainly adding a bit of levity to someone's day is never a bad thing. So, I think the comment section and the reactions that people are having to these like inexplicable styles really speaks to the fact that we're also craving, seeing something new and unusual, but also being able to push back at it a little bit as well, or maybe enjoy it and maybe say, hey, that's something I want to try. But, I think we're so constantly fed marketing through influencers, through boosted posts and ads on Instagram, that we're just in a time of such unbridled and unhinged consumerism. So it's hard to kind of even see the line between us being in on the joke with some of these styles and, not being in on the joke, and these designers sort of laughing all the way to the bank and these brands laughing all the way to the bank selling them.
You've referred to the state of jeans as culture in a rut.
Mm-hmm.
What did you mean by that?
Well, I think, distressed denim is certainly nothing new. And I was a teenager in the 90s and we had, oil slick denim and denim that looked like it was dragged through, a desert and sandblasted and those kinds of things. And temporally, if we're looking at the trend cycle and what Gen Zs are interested in, it is going to be pieces that reference the 90s and the 2000s. So we're seeing that cycle coming back. But, I think that we have to reflect a little bit on the implications of that too. And unfortunately, I think, Gen Zers are sort of caught in the middle of wanting to express themselves, but also being very aware of mass consumption and the detriment to the planet and to the people. So I think it's really just speaking to the trend cycle of, not necessarily running out of ideas, but where are the ideas coming from? And if the ideas were already, like what I was describing before, sort of hyper distressing and sandblasted jeans, where can you go from there? I guess is really the idea.
I mean, it's interesting that it's denim, which has been, we're going to talk more about the historical kind of significance, if I can put it that way, of denim in just a moment. But it's interesting that the denim seems to be the venue for a lot of this expression right now. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think denim is such an interesting, malleable fabric. You can play with washes, you can play with the silhouettes, as we spoke about earlier. And in terms of the personalization aspect, one thing that I'm finding very encouraging is people sort of adopting and looking at examples of visible mending as a way to personalize their jeans. So if you have a hole or a tear, you're not going out to buy a new pair of jeans. You're taking them to be embroidered or fixed in a way where, it's sort of like almost a badge of honor or an artistic expression of mending these pieces.
It also speaks to the environmental impact and the footprint of denim more broadly.
100%. Yeah, definitely. But I think in general, denim is just, such a staple in all of our wardrobes. So, any opportunity for people to kind of individualize it a little bit, I think is very tempting.
You could imagine that there are people who are listening who might say, come on, Jeans are just jeans. And I mean, sure, the $1,000 pea-stained jeans are one thing, but why should we pay attention to the trends around denim? What would you say to that person?
Well, I would definitely say, fashion is always a bellwether of what's happening more broadly. And denim is something that anybody can really buy, because you have, fast fashion brands producing denim pieces all the way up to luxury brands. So you're going to see people's interests and the way they kind of communicate sartorially expressed through denim. So it's important to keep your eye on what's happening there, because it changes all the time. And sometimes it looks back, and I think that denim is just sort of so omnipresent now that it's really become kind of a canvas, so to speak, for people expressing themselves.
Do you have a favorite pair of jeans? I mean, I think we all, I might be wearing mine right now. We all have the ones that we love that feel so comfortable. And they're the things that if you could buy 10 pair of them, perhaps you would, because you don't want them to disappear. Do you have a favorite pair?
I mean, I definitely go through cycles in terms of the silhouette. So I always have, a pair of bell bottoms in my closet. I'd love to find a pair of really excellent vintage, well-worn bell bottoms. But for now, I've found some newer pairs that work for me. I'm really into just a straight leg 90s silhouette right now. I have a very comfortable pair from Uniqlo that I've been wearing, and some people describe them as mom jeans, although I don't have any kids. So I'm like, can I even claim that as my own? Or dad jeans, I guess, too, if we want to just be gender neutral about it. But definitely, I would say they're not trying to be trendy at all. And yet, like I said, we're seeing a lot of 90s and 2000 styles coming back. So they are indeed trendy, but they're super comfortable and I love them.
Is it pejorative to call the jeans mom jeans or dad jeans? I ask this, with teenagers who will say, you're boring dad jeans. I always feel like I'm being put upon it. Clearly, I'm not as stylish as I thought I used to be.
No, I think it's fine. I think it's funny because usually the people who kind of joke about that are parents. And so I think they're a little delighted that people who maybe don't have kids are coming over to their side of prioritizing comfort over, making a statement, perhaps.
Odessa, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Odessa Paloma Parker is a Toronto-based writer and stylist and contributing art editor at the Globe Style Advisor. Emma McClendon is an assistant professor of fashion studies at St. John's University in New York City, also the author of the book Denim, Fashion's Frontier. Emma, hello to you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. What do you make of the denim trends that we were just discussing and the ones that we're seeing right now? People have said that this is, the Washington Post said, we're in another weird and glorious, exuberant age of denim.
I absolutely love what's happening with denim right now. For me, I think it's really, in many ways, Gen Z kind of putting its, mark on the fashion market as we're seeing. We've emerged from the pandemic and Gen Z is absolutely fascinated with Y2K, with breaking the rules, with things that are weird and things that clash and things that don't make sense in fashion. And so I think that what we're seeing in denim is absolutely a manifestation of Gen Z emerging as the leaders in fashion right now.
When did denim appear on your radar?
Oh, denim is, as our previous guest said, denim is a ubiquitous fabric. Denim has been a staple of the everyday wardrobe globally for decades by this point. So, of course, growing up since my childhood, denim has been part of my wardrobe. Denim has been something I'm hyperly aware of. But for me as a scholar, I really kind of came to denim with an interest in the paradox between denim that on the one hand, it is so ubiquitous. On the one hand, it is so homogenizing. But on the other hand, it is also hyperly individual as well, that we have memories, that we have favorite jeans, that we have associations between our body and jeans and identity formation. And that's really where I came sort of into my fascination and study with it. But admittedly, I also came into my study of denim at a time when denim was really in its slumps in the market. I started studying denim about 10 years ago when there was a lot of anxiety about whether athleisure would displace denim completely and jeans would just disappear from our wardrobes.
Can you just give us a quick history lesson? I mean, when did people first start to wear jeans?
Well, so I think that one major distinction that we have to make is between denim, the textile, and jeans, the garment. Mm-hmm. Denim, the textile, is something that has been around for centuries. We see examples from early 19th century, late 18th century of both men's and women's garments made out of denim that's used for workwear, hard labor, etc. Jeans, the modern blue jean, sort of as we know it, is very much a late 19th century creation. The riveted 5-pocket jean that we're so familiar with, that is something credited to Levi's in the late 19th century. And it really has a very solid history for the first 50 to 70 years of its existence, from Levi's and the 501's birth, as a men's workwear garment.
When did it move away from that, from being something, as you said, not exclusively, but largely concentrated around men and around the work that men were doing, where they would wear those jeans?
I think that the first foray of jeans beyond the just blue collar workwear associations is really actually in the interwar period, in association with the growing film industry and the birth of Westerns. This idea of going to dude ranches for vacationing and sort of thinking about this romanticizing of jeans as almost a costume you could wear in these scenarios. And that parlays its way into becoming something more casual for outdoor scenarios. But we don't really see it coming into the everyday wardrobe until after World War II in the 1950s, 1960s, and really the 1970s is when denim and jeans explode and burst beyond their workwear barriers and become a textile for all different types of applications and all different occasions.
What was going on then that would lead to that change, do you think?
A major catalyst for the explosion of denim in the 1970s are the counterculture movements and political applications of denim and in the 1950s and 1960s. And that's, of course, with the hippies and the counterculture movement, that we so much associate it with, but also different uses in film and television and also within the civil rights movement as well. We see young people championing this fabric, using this fabric, wearing it in a number of different contexts to use it as a form of political expression, a tool of showing political ideology through what they're wearing, through their bodies, through their clothing. But in so doing, they create a really distinctive look. And that in turn spawns a trend and an interest in what young people are wearing. And so by the 1970s, this counterculture interest in denim goes mainstream and spawns the fashion industry picking it up and translating it into all different types of garments, not unlike we're seeing today. We see designers creating handbags and clogs and swimsuits, out of jeans or out of material that's then made to look like denim. And so it's a really, major moment of experimentation, but also of the barriers breaking down between when it's acceptable to wear jeans and when it's not. There were bans to wear it in a number of different contexts, and that all really melts away in the 70s as we see across the board, not just with denim, but a playing with the rules of dressing, what's appropriate, a real sort of, conscious, thumbing your nose at the status quo and what's expected. And a lot of that has to do with, again, the political unrest of the 60s, the Vietnam War, the women's liberation movement, the gay rights movement. There's so much happening in that decade that's contributing to just unrest in how people want to adorn their bodies, experimentation with identity formation, and denim, given that it had such a strong connotation with being a working class garment, being a garment for labor, being a men's garment, being a masculine garment, it becomes the perfect canvas to play with all these new notions of identity formation.
Do you know what a Canadian tuxedo is?
Oh, absolutely. I know what a Canadian tuxedo is.
Denim in the top, denim on the bottom?
Of course.
So is that, people could look at that, and it has been looked at in past. You have Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears wearing it back in 2001. People have said that, maybe that's a fashion faux pas, but then people still wear it because a nice jean jacket is great. Is it a bad thing to wear the Canadian tuxedo?
Well, so I think that the Canadian tuxedo is a classic example of the way opinions of denim and what you can do with denim shift and change. They ebb and flow. The 1970s, again, is a classic example of the Canadian tuxedo made real with all denim leisure suits for men and women, flared pants, three-piece suits made out of denim. This was all the rage in the 70s. And then it goes out of fashion and we look back and we cringe and we're like, dear God, what were we thinking? And the same is true of the 2000s with Britney and Justin, where, there was clearly this moment of extreme experimentation in head-to-toe denim looks, and they became the symbol of that. And also, again, we get a few years past it and we cringe. We're in another one of these moments where head-to-toe denim is incredibly compelling. It seems incredibly relevant to, consumers, to designers, to people sort of in all, aspects of cultural production. But yes, I guarantee you 5-10 years from now, we will cringe. There's something about denim that is always challenging to our notions of taste. And I think that goes back to the fact that denim was so strongly coded for so long as a working class textile. And so to wear denim head to toe is to flaunt all the traditions of taste and appropriateness. Whatever the sort of silhouette might be of that denim, to wear all denim is to take up the most potent kind of banner of going against the sartorial expectations of a given event. If you're going to wear denim on the red carpet, if you're going to wear denim in an evening context. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe this will be the floodgate moment that sort of breaks all the rules for the future, and denim just becomes a typical material for a ball gown or a wedding gown. But I don't think that that's the case. I think that we're in a moment of extreme experimentation where denim has a cultural resonance that is making it interesting to us, and that will fade. And the pendulum will shift swing in the other direction. In
this moment, just before I let you go, do you have a favorite pair of jeans?
So my dirty secret is that I do not wear jeans.
You wrote the book about denim.
So my dirty secret is that I've always found jeans incredibly challenging. And I think that that's one thing that really drew me to them, was that for me, and I'm going to date myself, I was really coming of age in the early 2000s. That's when I was in high school. And this was a moment of extreme low rise and, tight fitting jeans and all sorts of, we think of Britney Spears again and her "I'm a Slave for You" video, where it's just like barely covering her nether regions, right? This was an age when I, really sort of came to think about jeans and wearing jeans in earnest. And I think that jeans can be incredibly challenging, particularly for women, particularly in terms of fit and in terms of bodies. And so for me, I think I was fascinated with jeans for the fact that they are so charged with all these cultural connotations. They're fabulous and they're fascinating, and I would love to wear them all the time, but I have never quite found that favorite pair of jeans.
Perhaps your time will come. Keep searching.
Perhaps it'll be the barrel jeans.
It could be, not the $1,000 stained jeans. Emma, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Emma McClendon is an assistant professor of fashion studies at St. John's University in New York City, also the author of the book Denim, Fashion's Frontier.